about the accusations that are all over social media implicating family members in this crime. If you are a proponent of these accusations, this video may not be for you. I have noticed recently, especially towards Kelsey German, much finger-pointing, that she is in some way involved or knowing more than she is telling about Abby and Libby's murders. This has no bearing in fact whatsoever. These assumptions being made by individuals are merely perpetuating horrific trauma and re-victimization of Kelsey. I am quite tired of it, and I felt the need to do this video about the effects that these kinds of baseless accusations can have on someone's life. Losing a loved one through an act of violence can be devastating for a family. No one can ever be prepared for such a loss, and no amount of counseling, prayer, justice, restitution, or compassion can ever bring their loved one back. The survivor's world is abruptly and forever changed. The awareness that your loved one's dreams will never be realized hits. Life can suddenly lose meaning, and many survivors report that they cannot imagine ever being happy again. Furthermore, victims of homicide are often undervalued because of the apparent or real blame that is attributed to them. Friends and family may question the victim's lifestyle, wondering how and if they knew their murderer. They might make comments such as, "They were in the wrong place at the wrong time," when this is simply not true. Questioning the innocence of a victim is very hurtful to surviving family members. Victim blaming can have many negative and devastating effects on the innocent victims who have been deemed at fault, even though they bear no responsibility for the crime which has been committed against them. One effect this victim blaming has is on reporting of further crimes. When people see victims being blamed, especially women victims, others are less likely to report the crimes against them because of the negative responses that other victims have suffered. Victim blaming, along with affecting a victim's decision to report a crime, can also impact on a confidant's willingness to support a victim's decision, a witness's willingness to testify, authorities' commitment in pursuing cases, and prosecuting offenders, a jury's decision to convict, a prosecutor's decision to recommend incarceration, and even a judge's decision to impose carceration. Why is there an outcry over certain missing persons and not others? Why do some crimes evoke a national outpouring of rage, grief, and sympathy for the victim and their relatives? What happens when there are no sympathetic human interest stories about the survivors and their pain and suffering? Victim blaming can have numerous negative effects on crime victims. The media can be callous and insensitive when discussing what happened to the victim. They may paint the victim in a negative light by saying they somehow deserved what happened to them. Or perhaps they were not really victims, but the offender. Crime is often about violence, power, and control. It needs to be clear that no one deserves it. Most importantly, the victim blame approach is neither effective in resolving problems of violence or protecting future generations from continuing the cycle of abuse. Of all the consequences suffered as a result of crime, the anguish experienced in those cases where a relative is killed stands alone, and especially when it is a child. The trauma of bereavement is no doubt made even worse by the suddenness of the loss and the knowledge of the circumstances in which it occurred. It is sobering, if not surprising, that bereavement through crime is so often followed by loss of employment, the breakdown of relationships, and mental health problems. Being wrongfully accused of a criminal offense can lead to serious negative consequences to those wrongfully accused and their families. The secondary trauma of families of those who are wrongfully accused cannot be overlooked. The anxiety and depression, the stigma and shame that is involved when someone is wrongfully accused can lead to long-term mental health issues for all involved. Isolation, because they fear going into public and have people point fingers at them. Unable to sleep due to night terrors, which can have major physical impacts on their health. How does social media affect court cases? Well, social media posts and even private messages regularly end up being used in criminal cases as evidence against a defendant. Everything that is posted on social media, or even words and phrases searched on your computer, are subject to being found by law enforcement and being used against you in a court of law. Everyone needs to follow the general rule that you should think twice before you post anything online. Cyberstalking. This is one of the most common charges. Social media is being used to send unwanted, harassing, and sometimes frightful messages to others. Soliciting minors. Though less common, these are cases where adults are found to have been talking with minors about sex or making plans to meet up for sex. One of the major problems that we see from the state's perspective is that even though there are communications, it is not unusual to find that a defendant does not even know the other person is a minor. Doxing is also prevalent, however rare. But the general idea for doxing is that someone puts out private information about someone else on social media, causing that person to be in fear. The best example of this is person A puts out person B's address on Facebook, knowing that person B is likely to be harassed by other people at that address. In today's day and age, social media plays such an important role in everyone's lives that oftentimes law enforcement actually begins their investigation by using social media. Think about it. If law enforcement finds out that there was a shooting at a party, for example, it makes sense to see if they can find out the names of a few people at that party. Then they can look up those persons' social media accounts, see if they uploaded any videos or pictures, and then they can work towards tracking down everyone in those pictures or videos and use them as potential witnesses. Be very careful what you put out there, because whatever picture or video that you share could end up being Exhibit A at your trial or someone else's. Please post responsibly. Thank goodness court cases are not decided based on what people have to say on social media, or everyone would be found guilty and the punishments would be cruel. Social media has given people the unabashed confidence to voice their unfiltered and unwanted opinion. Everyone is an expert, and everyone thinks that their opinion is a fact. When a story makes headlines of a crime, the comment threads are filled with people thinking that they know better than the authorities and express the punishment the suspect should receive. They also accuse innocent people. It is a good thing society has moved away from public stonings. My mind frequently drifts to one of my favorite plays, The Crucible. Without any concrete evidence, 19 innocent people were hung, and one was pressed to death. Today, many would express their bafflement towards such acts. If you read comments on social media today, you can very well see how this could happen. As in the case of Abby and Libby and the family members being accused of their involvement in this case, my mind goes here. What if this was your sister? What if you are wrong? What if this was you? What if your cold accusations are incorrect? We struggle with the idea that we are wrong. However, we have been and will continue to be wrong throughout our lives. If you are wrong, put yourself in the place of these families, and especially Kelsey. Her sister has been abducted and brutally murdered, and she was the person who took her to that location. And she was the one who told her, no, she was unable to go with her that day. And now, anytime she goes online, she sees comments or posts blaming her for her sister's death. Imagine if she were you, and this was happening to you, and you were innocent. Could you even begin to imagine how that would make you feel? Do you not think for 1 second that law enforcement and the FBI have looked hard at all of these individuals and vetted them? They are the first people to have been looked at. They all have solid alibis and no motive. Kelsey was interviewed numerous times by the FBI, and she admitted it. She was a mere 16 years old when her sister was brutally murdered. You cannot even fathom what that was like for her. You sit safely behind your computer screens and make videos and content accusing her, like there are no consequences of your actions, like this will have no lasting effect. This case is extremely high profile, and it will have an enormous public media attention on it until Bridge Guy is apprehended. Your accusations are nothing short of provoking an atmosphere of public lynching with no evidence whatsoever. And frankly, you are no better than a lynch mob. You hold yourselves to no standards whatsoever, and you have no integrity. If you honestly believe after 5 years that Kelsey has something to do with this crime, there is something seriously wrong with you. Have we completely lost our capability for empathy? Social media has taken away our empathy and left us cold and cynical. We have thrown out the old adage, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. You hide behind your keyboards, cruel cowards, just waiting to hang the next person in a long line of victims. You have no evidence, and it's quite frankly absurd what you continue to portray as truth. It's just putting out misinformation and doing this intentionally. What is the purpose for you to do this? I am sick and tired of people on social media with no regard for facts, blaming or accusing Kelsey for this horrible crime or any other family member. I felt the need to speak out about it. Many things have been said and taken out of context and misconstrued and then posed in posts or comments or videos to make it fit the narrative of the teller, of the family guilt in this case. Once you post on social media, assume it is there forever. If you delete something right away, someone somewhere could have screen captured it or copied it. These families have gone through so much already. The loss of their child or sister. Why don't you do something constructive for this case, rather than play to conspiracy theories and shock and awe videos accusing this family? It is not a good look for you and really questions your reasons for even covering this case, or any other for that matter. Yes, law enforcement has said they cannot clear anyone in this case for legal reasons, and they are going to use the word covered when referring to family and Ron Logan. Covered means that they know they do not have any involvement in this crime, but there may not be actual evidence that indicates that. And cleared means that they have actual evidence they know belongs to the perpetrator, and a cleared individual doesn't match that evidence. When accusing Kelsey German of this crime or culpability in it, you are purposely putting out misinformation intentionally. Why would you do that? What is your purpose here? So please stop acting like you know better than law enforcement in this case. Because you don't. We don't. And none of us do. And I would just like to say that we need to go back to values and integrity and honesty when expressing our opinions in this story. I've said before, how we choose to tell the girl's story is important, and it is. And if you've decided to become part of this community and help to tell their story and are out there purposely putting out misinformation and intentionally doing things to hurt this case, then you need to stop. Because it doesn't make any sense to any of us that are actually here for the right reasons. I'm going to end the video here, and I would like to thank everyone who watched today, and also to thank you for supporting Behind the Crime Door. I do appreciate each and every one of you. And for those of you who have been attending my live streams, I do plan on having a live stream about this very topic this evening. So I hope that I may see you there. But again, thank you so much for listening, and be safe out there, everyone. And until the next video, bye.